Over the past 5 years, I've helped a lot of families build new construction homes here in Northeast Florida. And here are the 5 most common mistakes I've seen. Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm a co-owner of a small real estate team here in Northeast Florida, a toddler boy mom, a wife, and a stylist. And I make videos to try to help make your life a little less chaotic. So if you would like to make your life a little less chaotic, please like and subscribe. So the 5 most common mistakes I see and that we fall victim to, even though I'm a very seasoned realtor, the biggest one is neglecting the planning phase. When I say neglecting the planning phase, I mean not taking into consideration not only your day-to-day life now, but what your future needs might be if this is a long-term home. I always tell my clients, hey, this sounds crazy, but I want you to, on a weekend and during a work day, your typical work day, your typical weekend, I want you to take note of everything you do from the moment you get out of bed to the moment you get back in that bed. What do you do first thing in the morning? Where do you prefer the sun to rise when you're sleeping? Does it matter the direction the sun rises in? Do you make your coffee first thing? Do you hate going to the kitchen to make your coffee? Are you gonna want an upstairs? If you got an upstairs, are you gonna want there to be a little kitchenette upstairs so you don't have to go all the way downstairs to make your coffee? If you buy a 2-story home, do you care if the laundry's on the first floor, even if all the bedrooms are upstairs, or vice versa? These things matter, and they will make a huge difference in how comfortable you are in your new home. A perfect example of how I fell victim, even though my husband argued against this, is that I thought pot fillers were completely useless. We didn't have a pot filler. We never used a pot filler. I don't like pasta. I don't know why I thought that was the only reason you would need a pot filler, but I did. We didn't get a pot filler. Now I'm kicking myself in the butt. I wish we would have gotten a pot filler. It's one of those things that if I would have done it during building, it wouldn't have cost but maybe $150. And now trying to go back in afterwards and change everything, it's a massive amount of money. Not massive, it's a hefty amount of money, and I have to tear up my kitchen to do it. Another item that I wish I would have put more thought into is we had 4 dogs at the time. We only have 3 now. The 4th one went to live with my sister-in-law. She's very much alive. She just didn't mesh well. Her vibe was off from kind of the family vibe. And she's much happier where she is now. But we still have 3 dogs, and we live in Florida, so they drink a lot of water. And they have their own little water cooler. And I had mentioned, oh, I think it's pretty cool how people have the little dog faucets that come out of the side of the cabinet. And I just didn't make note of it. I didn't write it down. So when it came time to add things like that in, I didn't think about it until literally 2 days after we moved in, and I went to put the water bowl down with the dogs and had to refill it again later that afternoon. Simple little thing that would have made my life so much easier, wouldn't have cost that much money at the time of building. Now would be a huge headache to go back and put in. I wish I would have done it. That brings us to our second most common mistake I see people make when building new construction homes. And that is electrical and plumbing, not really taking those 2 things into consideration. There are some things that won't be that big of a deal to add back in after the fact. Outlets, light switches, stuff like that. It's not really that big of a deal. However, things like that pot filler or the dog faucet, it's gonna be not only a headache to go back and add it now, but there's gonna be some financial recourse that I have to pay because I didn't do it when I was building with the builder. So just keep in mind, like when you're walking through your house, hey, do I like the drop pendant lights as nightstands, or am I okay with putting 2 outlets on either side of the bed and just forever having outlets for night table stands? One of the biggest mistakes we made is that our current house has a butler's pantry. And in the model, the butler's pantry had a wine fridge. It was really done up and really cool. And I was just like, I mean, we're not big wine drinkers. I drank the most wine between the 2 of us at the time. My husband didn't really. I was like, I don't want to pay to do it. If we want to do it, we can go in and do it later. That was a huge mistake. And I say that for this reason. 1, we drink more wine than I thought we did, or we have more wine bottles because they're enclosing gifts. Every time we go to a party, we're a member of 2 wine clubs, we immediately grab a bottle of wine to take with us. To go back in and add a wine fridge, I have to have somebody come in and cut our custom cabinets, cut the countertop, add an outlet. It's just another thing that's going to be a huge discomfort and cost me more money than it would have if I would have done it with the builder. Or making sure that you plan for what your future uses of the house are. So I didn't want to install a pool until our then 1-year-old learned how to swim. So I said, hey, I don't want to put the pool in until after our kid learns how to swim, but let's go ahead and pre-plumb for the pool heater, the outdoor kitchen, all of that. That's going to save us a little bit of money and discomfort when we go to install our outdoor kitchen and pool, because it's already pre-plumbed for everything. We thought ahead. We're like, hey, we want the outdoor kitchen on this side. We want the refrigerator in the outdoor kitchen to sit here. So we went ahead and had the builder put those stub outs for us. It's going to save us a huge headache later of trying to install stub outs, our electrical outlets outside. They're already in the house now. And that brings us to the third most common mistake I see people make, and that is cutting costs in the wrong place. And I did this, even though I've advised clients in the past not to do this. I cut costs on some things that I should have just done during the build process. None of them are so monumental that I can't go back in and do them after the fact. But the items that are like structural items, if you want a 5-bedroom and the floor plan's a 4-bedroom, go ahead and pay to make that structural change during the build process. If you want a covered lanai or a covered front porch, go ahead and do that during the build process. Any structural change you have, it's going to be so important that you just do it during the build process and let the builder do it. It's going to improve the integrity of the home to have the same builder do all of the structural changes. And it's going to save you time, money, energy in the long run. You don't want to come in making structural changes on a home that's only 5 years old because you didn't do them during the build process just to save the money. And that brings me to the fourth most common mistake I see people make, and that is worrying too much about resale value. And I say this because if you are building a home that you are going to live in for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years, then the resale value, or the things that impact the resale value, are going to change drastically over that time span, especially once you get past the 10-year mark. So what's popular today and trending today when it comes to home designs might not be the same when you go to resell your house in 20 years or downsize in 20 years. And you don't have a magic ball. I don't have a magic ball. We can't predict the future or design trends, especially that far out. So do what's going to make you feel the best in your house. Now, if you're building a new construction home and you know you're only going to be in it for 2 to 3 years and then you want to resell it or rent it out, then resale value is going to climb back towards the top of the priority list when we're taking into consideration what is going to be done on the inside of the home. But outside of that, do you. Don't build a house worried about what the next owner might think. And that brings me to the fifth most common mistake I see clients make when building new construction home, and we actually fell victim to this one, and this is why it's on the list, and this might be controversial, but I do not believe in installing the builder's home automations. Couple reasons. Oftentimes builders use one home automation company. We're going to make up a name of the company because I can't think of anything right now, but let's just say it's Pillow and Bean Automations. So Pillow and Bean Automations has their camera, their version of the Ring doorbell, their version of the automated blinds or automated anything. They have their own version of it, right? So as long as Pillow and Bean is in business, that's great. However, if Pillow and Bean goes out of business and you break your blinds, now what are you going to do? We made the mistake of, we had everything pre-wired by the builder's preferred vendor. But then when we came to afterwards and we price shopped and looked around a little bit, we found that they weren't necessarily the best person for us and our needs to do those home automations. And when we brought the blinds company in, we used 3 blind guys, or the blinded guys, I think. Highly recommend them. 10 out of 10. Very professional, chill, love their vibe. Their energy was on par with ours. He came in and we were like, oh, we already did the pre-wiring for the blinds. We just need you to install the mechanism. Well, we pre-wired and there's 2 wires still to this day sticking out of the top of our patio doors. The whole back side of our house is patio door in the living and dining room space. Well, he kind of looked at that and he was like, well, that's not something that has really been done in the last 5 years. Technology has changed, and now it's just this little Wi-Fi box that sits in the windowsill or somewhere close to the blinds. It's easy to hide. It comes with its own remote, and you just have to charge it like once every 3 to 4 months, and it controls the blinds that way. It's through a remote. There's an app that connects to your phone. You don't have to be at home to close the blinds. And we were like, oh, that is awesome. And it was like 1/3 of the price of what the builder's vendor was going to charge us. The crappy part is we still have the 2 wires sticking out of our patio door that we have to get snipped, and then somebody to come and plaster over it and repaint that wall. So I say that to say that technology changes so quickly and so rapidly. You don't want to be stuck with dated technology. You want to be able to, move with the times and adapt and adjust your house to follow whatever the new latest thing is. Definitely a hard lesson learned. We had a little bit of a struggle, especially when it came to our surround sound system, because the wires were kind of nuts. I think once they found out that we weren't going to use them, they didn't take as much care with it as they should have. So when we chose the company to set up our surround sound, they were kind of like, what is happening in here? We don't use these type of cords anymore. So we ended up having to go back and change a lot of stuff just to get it up to date with what the technology is at the time. And it only took a year to build the house. I just think the builder's vendor was a little bit more dated on the technology that they used. So that is for sure the most controversial take I tend to have. Hopefully this will help you make your building process a little less chaotic and a little bit more enjoyable, and you won't make some of the mistakes that we so commonly see and that even I fell victim to. As always, please like, subscribe, and share. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Till next time, peace out.